June 2016, the Office of the NAO commenced the development of the scope of the assignment to advance the undertaking of a visibility and communication campaign to highlight the outcomes of the partnership between the government of St. Kitts and Nevis and the European Union. This collaboration has served to advance the continued development and modernization of services provided in the areas of social protection, land management and administration, and education. With commitment from the EU, the SFA Communications was selected to document what has been a commitment in nation building by both the government and the European Union. As a result, the outputs and achievements to date have been concisely put together and communicated, utilizing mediums that would appeal to all facets of the community. Having completed the process, we are pleased to have you join us under the theme of Partners for Progress as we launch this visibility and communication campaign.
In July 2005, with the closure of the centuries-old sugar industry, the government of St. Kitts and Nevis devised a new path for the development in the Federation. The objective was to diversify and transform the economy. This process has been buttressed by 4 pillars: non-sugar agriculture, tourism, financial services, and information and communications technology, ICT. These key sectors were identified as the drivers that would facilitate macroeconomic development and competitiveness. Special attention was given to cost-cutting issues such as poverty reduction, infrastructure development, land management, and private sector development, which are vital in the process of creating sustainable livelihoods for our people. The European Union, being an agent of change and cognizance of the importance of the vision outlined in the National Adaptation Strategy, gave a commitment to partner with government in advancing its plans to specifically address the following: poverty reduction through the development and application of more efficient and poor targeted social safety nets. Private sector development promoted through an improved business environment and more efficient management of land resources. Increase employability, productivity, and competitiveness of the labor force through the strengthening of the human resource. Within the parameters of this partnership, work has been undertaken to improve the efficacy of land administration and management through the development of legislation which has laid the foundation for the establishment of a land registry with a branch in the island of Nevis. This effort has been further supported through the execution of an aerial mapping exercise of the Federation, which provides spatial imagery to further inform land use planning, land cadastre and registries, topographical data, and environmental matters aimed at ensuring confidence for both residential and commercial land and property owners in their investments. Steps have also been taken to enhance the quality of technical and vocational education training, TVET, through the provision of training opportunities for members of the TVET Council, education professionals to become assessors and verifiers, thereby acquiring the skills to validate occupational standards in the areas of construction and hospitality. Work continued on this partnership to facilitate the development of a National Qualifications Framework, NQF, which provides a mechanism for quality assurance, the establishment and achievement of nationally recognized and consistent training standards, and a rationalized approach to structuring existing and new qualifications in a systematic manner. This will be supported by the completion of ongoing initiatives to develop the National Qualifications Registry, NQR, and the National Occupational Classifications. As part of the government's efforts to ensure that families and individuals can transcend beyond the circumstances in which they find themselves, the Mold, Empower, Nurture, and Direct, the MEND Families Program, was undertaken. This initiative is the first in the English-speaking Caribbean, formulated using the principles encapsulated in the Chile Puente program. It provides an innovative approach targeting vulnerable families with the goal of strengthening and empowering them through collective responsibility to ensure the maintenance of healthy and productive lifestyles upon their graduation from the program. Similarly, the government of St. Kitts and Nevis and the European Union understand the need for rehabilitation and nurturing of young persons who are experiencing difficulties in life, whether as a result of family struggles or have found themselves on the wrong side of the law. In this regard, steps were taken to strengthen the programs at the New Horizons Center to foster a learning environment which, we are proud to say, can and has transformed the lives of its young residents, making them productive members of the community. Today is not about long speeches. It is an opportunity with the assistance of the consultancy team working on behalf of SFA consultants to premiere visually and audibly the accomplishments of the Partnership of Progress between the government of St. Kitts and Nevis and the European Union. These achievements will be better articulated by beneficiaries themselves and will now become a part of the visibility and communications campaign. This campaign is an important element in the government's engagement with the public and will be sustained through the efforts of the ministries with responsibility for the continued delivery of services and transformation of the sectors. The Office of the NAO uses this opportunity to thank the European Union for its unwavering commitment to nation building and the beneficiaries and stakeholders, both public and private, who made the final products possible. Thank you.
Today we celebrate another milestone, along a journey that began back in 2006 with the signature of the first program under the accompanying measures for Sugar Protocol countries, using the interesting acronym of AMSP, or what we simply call the sugar money. Through this instrument, the EU agreed to support the implementation of the Federation's National Adaptation Strategy, or the NAS, in the areas of poverty reduction and social protection, private sector development, and labor and human resource development. The 12-year journey has been characterized by a new type of engagement between the European Union and St. Kitts and Nevis. Through the use of the budget support modality, funds were distributed not for specific contracts, but were transferred directly to the Federation's treasury based on achievement of continued economic stability, sound public financial management, transparency of the budget process, and good progress in the implementation of its national policy. This new partnership represents a maturing of our development cooperation thrusts and an acknowledgement of the rigidity of the Federation's governance mechanisms. It is also fitting that our budget support investment was firmly built on the country's own well-articulated national adaptation strategy. In fact, I can well remember as we were building up to this, we would have several discussions with the NAO's office. And we might put forward a good idea, and the NAO team would listen to us, smile back at us nicely and say, that's a good idea, but that wouldn't work for St. Kitts and Nevis. So the important thing is that it was done your way. 12 years later, we at the delegation are pleased to note that St. Kitts and Nevis has benefited from some €69 million or just about 200 million EC dollars under this program. It is also noteworthy that in the final two components under this financing, we have dispersed 100% of the full complement of Euro 25 million or 60 million EC dollars in recognition of the Federation's achieving all of its policy indicators. Now, this is significant because quite often in the developing world, we talk about absorptive capacity or the absorption capacity of a country. When a country can absorb 100% of the money that we've presented to them, it is definitely an achievement, and very few have been able to do that. This rare achievement augurs well for the country in maximizing on this mode of aid delivery. And even though I think St. Kitts was dragged into budget support kicking and screaming, I think they're probably the best examples of how budget support actually works to the benefit of a country. It also speaks to the hard work of the respective technical ministries, and I see some of my colleagues here today, but particularly of the unfailing efforts of your National Authorizing Officer and Financial Secretary Hilary Hazel and her dedicated team at the NAO's office. So therefore, it would be remiss of me not to mention my NAO colleagues like Mr. Edwards, Ms. Quealy, Ms. Warner in her absence. You know, Rena and I were on this journey from day one. So it's sad that she isn't with us today, but I know she is with us in spirit. Mr. Manners, Ms. Ward, Ms. Douglas, Ms. Richards, who is now new to us as well. And also from the Ministry of Sustainable Development, who have also been part and parcel of this exercise, and the Extended Ministry of Finance as well. And on the delegation side, you know, I also need to thank my predecessors, like Kuhn Russell Combier, who I think people will still remember him. He was one of the biggest advocates when it came to the New Horizon program, and Zizamos Virgos, who also helped to champion the program in those first few years. Today we launch a new phase of the program where we highlight some of the successes under our partnership. The MEN program is an excellent example of adding accountability to social protection. The support to the New Horizon program provides a pathway to success for those who previously only suffered the consequences of being at risk. The National Qualifications Framework provides new hope for the development of a seamless educational system with access for all. And the aerial mapping and land cadastre exercise positions St. Kitts and Nevis as a true leader in land management in the Caribbean. These are but 4 examples of the outputs from this program. St. Kitts and Nevis has also benefited from targeted technical assistance in areas such as development of a disaster vulnerability assessment for health, education, and public infrastructure, development of a national housing and land use policy, development of a national qualifications framework and register, and the development of a national special needs policy. I'm particularly pleased about the last one, because that was another case where we had a discussion, and that is where my colleagues in St. Kitts and say, yes, this is definitely something that we must have. And I'm happy to see that 2 years hence, this is what is on the table. In addition, through our budget support operation, the Federation has invested in the reimagination of the technical vocational education and training, or the TVET sector, through the empowerment of the TVET Council, revision of the TVET curriculum, and the delivery of new Caribbean vocational qualifications in the areas of hospitality and construction. Similarly, while the MEN program is a visible manifestation of social protection, the Federation has also invested in the harmonization of its cash assistance programs, mobilization of a digital system for the management of social assistance, and the development of a means testing mechanism. We believe that this revolutionized approach to social protection will be a model for others in the Caribbean to emulate. Now, as we look ahead, Whereas it is important to pause, as we do today, to celebrate our collective successes, it is equally important to recognize that it is only a momentary pause, because our work continues in earnest. From this point on, it is not what we did to get here, but how we will use what we now have to move forward. Your national qualifications framework is of little relevance if there is no buy-in from stakeholders, or if the traditional schism between technical and academic streams continue into another generation. The related National Qualifications Register and the occupational classification system of little utility if they're not routinely populated and kept current. The new seamless educational system with multiple entry and exit points will only become a reality where the TVET sector continues to reinvent itself through the offering of relevant courses of study that remain relevant to meeting the needs of a dynamic national and global labor force. You have to effectively market TVET, not as a step cousin to academia, but as a critical component of skills acquisition for all learners. Now, if you pause for just a couple of seconds and ask yourself the question, what separates a heart surgeon from a plumber? Anybody? Yeah, you can see I was a teacher before, right? So I asked the questions. And if there's no response, you assume you've taught the class well. Some people say liability insurance. But outside of that, they're the same skills that you're looking at, because you're looking at how is it that you move a liquid in a set of tubes from point A to point B, where there's a pump at point A and point B is some remote area. And in fact, when areas like medicine began, they began as vocational subjects. But now they have been glorified at the expense of others. So how do we right this imbalance? And how do we deal with issues when a young girl, she, or a young boy for that matter, decided that they would explore, new parts of their body and end up being pregnant, have to drop out of school? How do we reintegrate them back into the school system? Or how, if a child has not performed to the maximum of their ability at age 11, that they're not stigmatized for the rest of their life? So we need to use all of these tools, put them back together, and really give people an opportunity so that education truly becomes lifelong and life-wide. Similarly, when we look at the MEN program, even though it is the flagship that we have right now, it needs to be continuously evaluated and reviewed and improved upon. It will be important to always provide social protection for our most vulnerable, while ensuring that their personal and professional development opportunities to move them out of that state of vulnerability. So even though quite often we talk about these separate components, they're all part of an integrated whole, and we have to think as to how the pieces work better together. Because at the end of the day, we talk about being on this journey. The destination has always been known. We want to have a better St. Kitts and Nevis, but we need to figure how the different pieces work together on this journey, so it is a much more cohesive one. We at the delegation believe that this visibility and communication campaign that we're here to launch today will provide the general populace with a better understanding of not only the achievements under the program, but also the potential opportunities going forward. Because now that we have done our part, now that the government has done its part, it is up to the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis to move this initiative forward. And we therefore wish the campaign every possible. Success. I thank you.
It's certainly a pleasure to reach this point in this project, and I really appreciate seeing all of you here. I recognize many of the faces of the persons who have collaborated with us. And I first want to start by saying thank you for working with us on this project. Certainly the officers of the Ministry of Sustainable Development and the NAO, who have labored long and hard with us on this very long journey to get to this point where we have a campaign, and the beneficiaries who have assisted us in actually producing the materials. We really, really greatly appreciate your collaboration. I'm really here more to show you rather than to talk about it, what we have been able to come up with. And then we talk about the actual implementation of that when I've shown you what we have. And we want it to be a dialogue as well. So we welcome your comments and suggestions and so on after I've done the presentation. I'd just like to speak to where we started in terms of the objectives that we had. And the primary objective was to build awareness of the programs that were developed by the government of St. Kitts and Nevis in partnership with the European Union. And that's why we have branded the campaign Partners for Progress, because it was very much, as Dr. Boyce has elaborated, a partnership and between the two entities. And we wanted to highlight the benefits of the different projects. So we had to select certain projects to highlight. There were 4 that we actually chose, and the successes to date. We also wanted to raise the awareness of the role and function in particular of the New Horizons Rehabilitation Center, and to reduce some of the stigma associated with that kind of institution so people could see it for what it really is, and to encourage more proactive engagement in the various projects by the private sector. So we have had focus groups that have involved the private sector as well. So those were some of the key objectives. We wanted to reach certain target audiences, and there are a range of them here. The general public, the media. In terms of the TVET program, HR professionals would be important, and government, civil servants, business community, labor, educators, students. So it was quite wide-ranging, so the materials are really designed to communicate with a wide range of stakeholders. And in terms of our strategy, we focus on highlighting, as I said, important milestones and successes, and we chose these programs here to be the focus. So the New Horizons TVET, the Land Cadastral System, and the separation of the land registry from the registry and the MEN program. So the land registry and the land cadastral system were treated as one in terms of the actual products that we came up with. And these are some of the things that we did to actually complete the whole process. So we felt that it was important for the spokespersons to have some media training, some interview training, and because there was a lot of apprehension about engaging with the media or even being interviewed by our team and so on. So that was quite, I thought it was a very good experience in that we saw people in one session. I wish we had time for more, but we only had one, move from really being very apprehensive to comfortable, as you will see in the products that we show you how they actually perform. So we had media outreach, so I was able to meet with your media heads. I really appreciated that. I see many of them here today. And we had good discussion about what we were doing and how it could be used. So my next step is to finalize those arrangements. Once you see the products, then we can talk about further with you to arrange the actual placement of them and how they can be used to further educate the public and build awareness. So we decided to do 4 video features, 2 radio public service announcements, and we chose for the radio public service announcements to actually use persons who were well known in the community to be spokespersons for this. And as you see when we come to the radio PSAs, we did an e-zine on the 4 projects, and this is an electronic newsletter that focuses on each of the projects, and it can be used as one document, or it can be broken out into 4 separate documents. We also did focus groups. So in my practice, I really don't like to do anything without research, because we can get it very wrong as to what people will like or understand or appreciate. So we found that very useful. So we tested, so the materials that you will see have all been tested, and we're pleased to say the response was good. And there were changes proposed, particularly to one piece, and we were able then to go back and make adjustments to the work based on the response that we got. So that was a very useful exercise, and again, I really appreciate the colleagues at the ministry for making that possible for us to do that, and for all those who participated in that. And the focus groups were persons from the general public, as well as persons from the private and the public sector officials. And we then recommended that we have something, a launch event like today, where we could engage with stakeholders and the media, present what we've done, and so that we get your support in terms of making use of this material. I would share with you as a consultant one of my pet peeves. Even though we get paid to do what we do, and in a sense it ends there for us officially, it grieves me when it is not used, or not used well. I remember once going to a particular country, and like 9 months before, I had given for a very important project that was impacting the whole of the Caribbean. And we put our heart and soul into producing the materials. And it was given to the minister at the time, a box of stuff. And I went back 9 months later, and the box was still in his office. You know, and that, I wanted to cry. And I actually told him how I felt about that. It just sat there. So that's one of the hard things about doing what we do, is that usually we can't ensure the usage. So I beg you, plead with you, if you can at all help us in any way you can, even in your own personal capacity. Now with the internet and with social media, everybody can be a media channel. So if you can share it, post, whatever, on your platforms, in your organization, on your website, the media persons have been very supportive in terms of being willing to do that, run it on their stations and that kind of thing. We really appreciate that. And we also want to arrange we have been talking to them about arranging some interviews and that kind of thing, to also extend that further so people are aware of it. So that's, now I'm going to go on to playing the actual products for you. So we have 2 radio PSAs, and the first one features Sugar Bowl, who you all know. I don't need to introduce him. He's not able to be here today. The thing is, yeah, tell me, can you come? Unoma, who's here. Hi, Unoma. Thank you so much. And Tony Frederick Armstrong, I guess who you know as well. Tony couldn't be here, so I'm just going to play this for you.
what land belongs to me down to the last centimeter. Yeah, it's gonna take a little while, but Mr. Brown always... This is Sugar Bowl News, and it's sweet just like me. I went by the registry and they say a separate dedicated land registry is coming. And we're going to have something called a cadastral system for the whole of St. Kitts and Nevis. That will make sure I know what land belongs to me down to the last centimeter. Yeah, it's going to take a little while, but Mr. Brown always arguing with the neighbor about where the land start and who owned the mango tree won't have to fret no more. He could get a title faster, use it to borrow from the bank, and even pass on the land to his daughter. This is good news. Sugar Bowl says so.
Contact the Ministry of Sustainable Development to find out more about the land registry and the cadastral system. Programs developed by the government of St. Kitts and Nevis in partnership with the European Union. This is Unoma Allen with some good news. As an entrepreneur, I'm excited that St. Kitts and Nevis is the second country in the Caribbean to have a national qualifications framework. The Technical Vocational Education and Training Secretariat, known as TVET, now has a pool of trainers and assessors to certify our people in a wide range of skills that support national goals. And there's more to come with the National Qualifications Registry that will classify a variety of vocational, technical, and academic qualifications. For a businesswoman like me, knowing exactly what job applicants are trained and certified to do makes hiring so much easier. Find out more about the National Qualifications Framework, a program developed by the government of St. Kitts and Nevis in partnership with the European Union. Visit www.ab.gov.kn. This is Unoma Allen with some good news.
So that's a radio spot, and that is the 4 TV features. So I'm going to play the first one, which is the land registry and cadastral system.
The EU has sponsored several projects in relation to our land management systems that include the separation of the land registry from the High Court. It also includes some mapping, which involves the mapping of both St. Kitts and Nevis, and that would also be assisting us in the creation of our digital land cadastre. My name is Dwight Francis. I'm the Director of Land and Surveys in the Ministry of Sustainable Development for the Government of St. Kitts and Nevis. Well, my department is responsible for all mapping and land management for the Government of St. Kitts and Nevis. With the assistance of the EU, what these projects brought to St. Kitts and Nevis is the ability for us to improve our data collection processes with regards to land management. We did a mapping exercise. It began in about 2013 and it's still ongoing, where we are now mapping all the parcels in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis to generate what we call a base map. And from this base map, we can now see every single parcel in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, including Booby Island. We can now see all of that down to centimeter level. In addition to the mapping project, we also completed the legislative framework for removing the land registry from the High Court system and making it an independent entity. So what that does now, it frees up a lot of resources that were being shared between the land registry and the High Court, and it also makes the land registry much more efficient because we now have a dedicated body for the processing of land and real property matters. As part of the EU funding, we are also looking at the creation of the digital cadastre. The cadastral legislation is currently being reviewed by Cabinet, and it would just dramatically improve our registration process with regards to land and land-related matters. Currently, the current system is paper-based. However, with the cadastral system, with the digital cadastral system, we expect to get a rapid improvement in relations to the transaction time and processing of transactions. We also anticipate that the security of title, especially when it comes to land tenure, we know that the security of title would greatly improve because we know we have everything in relation to land in one system. If we now look at the 3 tiers of the project and we look at them holistically, the 3 tiers of the project would push St. Kitts and Nevis way ahead of other Caribbean countries in which we now can map digitally and process digitally all land transactions. So I'm pretty excited.
We have the star of that period, that's Mr. Francis. So now we go on to the New Horizons rehabilitations. I now have my technical operator. You can see I was not very good at that.
Any juvenile to the horizon if you feel that there's too much for you because it helps a lot, not only me but others.
New Horizon was established because there was no facility to house young offenders or children that came into conflict with the law. Previously, they would be housed with adults. So the centre was established to not only just provide a centre for them to be placed, but also for us to engage in a rehabilitative approach with the young person, looking at them holistically and providing a service that could meet the needs, that address some of the issues that brought them to the centre in the beginning. The EU funding that we received was a blessing to the centre because it was part of the education programme that we provide for the children. So we provide a range of skills programme. So a culinary arts programme, which specifically looks at food and beverage, and also for the woodwork projects as well, for young people to gain skills for the employers to employ them. Well, for culinary, we wanted to provide not just a programme, but we wanted to provide a certification programme for young people as well in regards to the NVQs. So we had to the facility had to fit into the specific requirements in order to get the certification. So what we did, we refurbished the kitchen from a wooden kitchen to a stainless steel. And that came with fridge, freezer, and some equipment that the children could use to enhance their skills. With the woodwork project, again, we didn't have any materials or equipment to run an effective program, so we got a range of electrical equipment that could aid the program to run more effectively. Work doesn't end just because the young person has moved into the community, because St. Kitts and Nevis is a small federation, so we're interactive with the young people in their lives. So even though they've moved on, part of our reintegration program would look at not just reintegrating them back into the community, but also around their career development as well.
My experience at New Horizon, I learned a lot. I learned how to do measurements, how to measure wood, and I built a bedside cabinet. Back then I never know how to be calm, and I never know how to manage my time. Like now I find myself better at stuff. Like for instance, if Miss Newton asks me to do something, I will do it without hesitating, and I try my best to come to school every day. But I always wanted to become a cosmetologist. After I finish I graduate and stuff, I will like find a job to gain more money, and then I will open my own business. I used to doubt myself a lot back then, like I can't do this and I can't get this done. But now I just put my mind, once I put my mind to it, I could get it done.
My first 6 months at New Horizon, I was still disgusted. But then later on, as I got a 2-year sentence, I just decided, well, it was about time to settle down. I realized that the people at New Horizon was there to help me, not to fight me down, and I was able to receive 4 CXC subjects. I was able to do woodwork, I was able to do electricity. I always wanted to be a part of the military, and New Horizon gave me that opportunity, so I feel positive about my future.
These young people here today. Do stand. And Miss Williams, Adele has tears in her eyes. She's just been awesome. From the time we met her, I was just so impressed with the work that she and the colleagues of Adele also.
There is no more just using a machete on the hard labor, but the level of academic understanding, your technical understanding matches, and it is important that our people are equally qualified on the different levels, which would give them the chance to equally match their Caribbean brothers and sisters and other people from further afield.
The Secretariat is responsible for ensuring quality assurance at the different tertiary and post-secondary institutions within the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. The EU has been very instrumental in providing funding to allow us to devise or come up with the National Qualifications Framework. The National Qualifications Framework is an instrument that is designed to classify and recognize skills and other qualifications that persons may achieve over time. For a person to get an NVQ, they would have to be assessed. The EU has provided funding for persons to be trained to become assessors. So now that we have these assessors, we are able to provide NVQs for persons with the skills and competencies. So at the TVET level, we're trying to incorporate the NVQs into the educational platform, and so this will provide our locals with that certificate or that award that basically puts more value to their skills. Once a person would have received an NVQ, we would be able now to map it on the framework to show them what they are expected to do at this particular level, and it also shows the employer, this is what I can expect from a person holding this NVQ at this particular level.
Quality matches knowledge, and if you are knowledgeable, it is easy for execution. And the Ministry of Education, along with the St. Kitts and Nevis Building Cultural Association and other technical minds, have all worked along in creating a new trust in preparing our young brains for the industry. So now the Ministry of Education of St. Kitts and Nevis, along under the EU funding project, is now on the road to making sure members of the Federation are now qualified to match other regional brothers and sisters.
So we now have the National Qualifications booklet. It outlines what the framework is, what each employer can expect at each different level. It also explains the benefits of the framework to society, to the employers, to the employees, and just the community as a whole. And also one of the benefits of the framework is that it allows us to integrate this to guide the education process. So the skills and the technical components that are represented in this framework, they basically say to our educators, we are molding our students so that they will be able to achieve an NVQ or a CVQ level 5. And so this informs our education system as well. The funding has been extremely helpful because without it, it would have taken a longer time. So we were able to expedite the creation and the development of the framework to better assist the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. It makes the person more self-aware of their worth. It makes the employer more comfortable and more confident in the work that this person can now do.
The next one. Oh, I didn't see you, sir. Thank you. This is Mr. Warren. Quite a dynamic gentleman. Thank you. Yeah, this is on the MEN programs.
There were different pillows and different types of discussions and stuff that we did at the MEN program that has empowered me. There were different pillows and different types of discussions and stuff that we did at the MEN program that has empowered me and my family and gave us, let's say, a road like what I'm walking on to get to where I needed to be in life.
MEND is actually an acronym which stands for Mold, Empower, Nurture, Direct, Families of St. Kitts and Nevis. And what this program does is targets indigent households. And you take that household and you work along with that household. You identify their needs, you provide a wide range of social services for that family. The hope that you'll be able to move them from a state of dependence and indigence, vulnerability, to a place where they're more self-sufficient and they're better able to meet the needs of their family. The European Union, or the EU, in realizing the significance of the MEND program and the impact that the MEND program can have in St. Kitts and Nevis in helping us to alleviate poverty, have been very supportive of the program. They've provided technical assistance along the entire pilot. So under MEN, the families would sign a contract with the ministry, and the ministry would work along with the family, helping them to achieve specific goals or targets in specific areas. These areas would include education, health, income and employment, family safety and security, family dynamics, and also identity.
Well, when I became a participant of the MEN's program, it was in a very low time of my family's life. I had a vehicular accident that almost paralyzed me, and so when I get to know about the MEN program, I was unemployed, going through a whole lot of medical stuff, and the family just needed some help. My husband was the only breadwinner. We had children in college, children in high school, who we weren't able to meet the needs of. And as we did this program together as a family, we followed the steps and we put them into practice. And right now, my son is just about to finish his associate's degree in computer technology at our CFBC college, and he is doing wonderful. We followed through on what we were taught at the MEN's program. Our savings, it's like, yeah, we got it going on. And so we just can say thank you. Great big thank yous to the MEN program. I have got my bounce back. I have gotten my zest back because I love life and I miss living.
program. I don't think Miss Matthew is here, or Miss Lewis. I don't think that her. Yeah, but we thank them. She was also, as you can see, an amazing beneficiary. So the next, so those are the four videos that we did. And then we also took the same information and we did still photography, and we did an e-zine that covers the 4 projects. So I'll just quickly just show you. This is the cover. So it can be used as one document or as 4 documents. So it has the contents. This is on the New Horizons project. If you bring down the lights a little bit, if we got this, just Alright, let me go back. Right, so this is the New Horizons cover. National Qualifications Framework. The Land Registry. Men. Where is Miss Matthew? And that's the back cover. So all is left for me to say is thank you. And I welcome us to have a little, we can put back up the lights, yeah. So I welcome your feedback, questions, comments, and any, as I said, we're looking forward to good use of the materials. So if anybody has any thoughts on that, so over to you now. Any questions, comments? Don't be shy. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wonders, for that thank you for that very encouraging presentation. It's always good to see that the work that you have put into a project has dividends. I guess the most obvious question is what is the way forward?
Yeah, well, yeah, well, the way forward is placement. So we have, of course, we're having discussions with the media and so on, the GIS, SKNIS. So that is the next step, really, just to get this out to all the media and finalize those arrangements. And social media. So we want to work on everybody's platforms, so we get it out to all the beneficiary organizations, different government institutions, and so on, and have it, spread far and wide. The videos are done in a way that they average about 3 minutes or so, like that. Even though there's a lot of information in there, they're all in that range, 3+. So they can be used easily on social media. So as you know now, everybody can get that going on virally. If everybody in this room just shared it, we would have, I'm sure we'd cover most of St. Kitts Nevis, because I know you all know a lot of people, right? So that's certainly the next step for us. We don't have much longer on the project, it's about a week. So we'll be just making sure those things are in place, and that it's over to you all to make sure and that the material is used rightly. And Mr. Francis had a question or comment.
I just wanted to say that on behalf of myself and all the other interviewees, thank you for the productions. I think that you have done justice in what you have delivered today.
Sir, I thank you, Miss. You have no idea how much that means to me, because Mr. Francis was the most skeptical of all the people. He almost was like, do I really have to do this. I had to practically beg him. So I really am glad that you are happy. That means a lot. Thank you so much. Give her a round of applause.
Good morning, everybody. I want to say thank you, well, for the European Union as well. As I said in the interview, when we started, a lot of the materials was based on contributions that was made by the European Union. And I want to say thank you to Fiona and Jamal for participating in the whole process. You make me cry because it's nice to see that New Horizon does have a platform. No matter how skeptic people are about the centre, we do productive work with young people, and it's effective to see today that Fiona that came, she left, she's gone into AVIC. I've just heard that she's got a new job, and she's just telling me this morning that she's juggling the new job and also AVIC as well. And with Jamal, and even though I had other perspective that I wanted him to go in a different avenue, he was determined that he wanted to go into the Defence Force. And when he joined, it was on a voluntary capacity for the first 6 months, Jamal? Yeah, for the first 6 months. For him to stay that duration until he got employment is applaudable. So thank you for giving us the opportunity to demonstrate the good work that we do at the centre, the staff that are dedicated, present and past. And we hope now that this can be distributed across the Federation for them to have evidence that we do productive work.
Thank you so much. And I just want to, before I forget, to acknowledge my team. Audiovisual work is not a singular thing. You know, you do it with a team of people, and I'm blessed to have a wonderful team of very talented people that I work with. And so the director of the videos is a young lady called Rachel Mears. And we've been working together for a very long time. I just want that she worked really hard on this. She would be the one that you would have seen, who would have, done the interviews and so on. So I want to give Rachel a big shout out. Back home too, I produced, directed the radio myself, but I'm going to direct that. But there's a young woman who works with me on the editing, because what you do, that's one thing, but editing it right is so important. And her name is Jasmine Hall, so I'd also like to recognize her. And there are many more, but I want I want people in the background, who have made all of this possible. Jan Blenman, of course, yes, my research associate, again, we work, we've been a team for plus 15 years or more. And she tested she came and did the preliminary research with me, the first visit, and then she came back and tested the materials with the focus groups. So I want to give a big shout out to Jan as well. Yes, hands were going up, sorry. I saw, yes, ma'am.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Don Myers, newly appointed Registrar of Lands, and I'm extremely pleased today to see what has happened. Thanks to Francis for that delightful overview that he did. Yes, the legislative framework to support the cadastral system is extremely important and will go a long, long way to ensuring that we have an effective and efficient land registry. With respect to the separation, the first step was, of course, the appointment of the Registrar of Land. And the second step is coming up soon, where we will actually physically move from the Supreme Court to a place not too far from here. Hopefully, it would be at the end of July. And then, of course, work will move along quickly to ensure that we do have an effective separation of the land registry. So thank you once again, EU. It was indeed a pleasure to see what is happening. Thank you.
More hands. Could you? Wait, what? Oh, yes, sir. Oh.
Hi, I'm also from the Ministry Ministry of Sustainable Development, but it's my first time seeing the video, so I just wanted to comment briefly on the quality. I thought the quality was very high. I was very pleased at the acting of my friend here, Dwight Francis.
You make it sound like Hollywood now.
I thought it was very good. And Adele and Miss Lewis and Fisher from the Secretariat. I think it's good to let the public know sometimes what the public servants do and who they are. Sometimes persons may not know them, whether it's the NQR Secretariat, etc. So that's good, but I thought the quality of the videos was very high. The use of drone technology to give a kind of perspective. And as I said, just to let persons know what the programs are about and who the people are that they need to liaise with. Okay, so kudos.
Thank you. I'd just like to mention in that regard, our Director of Photography, Salvin Get Busy Brown, who's just amazing. I work with him a lot. Yeah, they're my A team. Yes,
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
My name is Lennox Warner, and I would like to say that I'm very concerned. But before I touch concern, I want to join the gentleman to say what I saw a while ago is very gratifying. It shows that our country and our people is ready for the next step. But for me, as someone who came back, whose background is in the technical vocational education, who had left school over 4 years at the Point High School and went on to the technical college, are baffled when I look at the reinvention of the wheel in technical vocational education as to, at present, the technical college, which is a part of the Fitzroy Bayonne College, is at its worst. When I sat here and I look at what I'm seeing in the horizon, as to preparing the skilled people for the market, the technical college part of Fitzroy is way behind. When I look at what's happening at AVEC and them, I am really saddened. And in competing and as one who meets and sits in a lot of seminars and so with regional people, consultants and so on, I am not certain if St. Kitts is growing at the rate that we started with our technical people, with a country with a high level of and easy access to secondary education. It's troubling. It's very troubling. We have some people who is forced to eventually come into the industry, but it takes them very long for them to even understand. And when you look at, for instance, Christoph Harbour, mostly technical and finished quality craftsmen, we are now seeing most of these people coming from Jamaica and Guyana because our people are not being properly prepared. And it's taking government too long to the Ministry of Education to make the transition after realizing what is going on. The National Qualification Program is still way behind to prepare our people to equal our brothers and sisters. There are so many Jamaicans here who come in with the Caribbean skill certificate, and it is rather troubling if we are to meet the global change. It's all well getting a visa, and matter of fact, when our people travel to the United States and Canada, we have to go back to get our qualifications up to meet the necessary employment position. And anybody can come into St. Kitts Nevis and just fit in. I mean, I remember the transition of the economy from agriculture, sugar. CEDA had put a lot of money in where a lot of people was trained in the hotel industry and in the construction. And we have not, for me, I have not seen that major transition in our people. And the people in authority is somewhat to blame, but I will go back to say, we need to revisit, and everybody who here who have the power and the ears and the mouth to take it back from me. The Ministry of Education along with the sustainable ministry, need to revisit what's going on at the CFB, at the TechVac end of it. The woodwork equipment that I just saw, the St. Kitts Nevis and Anguilla Technical College had all of those and more. Where is the college preparing its people for the employment market when construction is playing such a big role in our economy?
Thank you, sir. I don't know if there's anything else to say anything, but I'm sure your comments are well noted and will be conveyed, you know, the messages will be conveyed to the appropriate persons, unless someone wants to comment. Dr. Boyce.
Hi everyone again. Because I would have seen the videos, I didn't want to preempt them in my speech. But I'm pleased to see the outcome from the video. It is very easy for us, back in Barbados, to talk about disbursement rates, how well a project has been doing in terms of how much we've spent, etc. It is a different story when we hear the results as a first-person narrative. And that is one of the things that, the charges that we gave out to Alison and her team. We want the stories not necessarily from the ministries, we want the stories from the people. Because at the end of the day, development work only succeeds when the people benefit. And I'm happy to see that we have met that. I remember chatting with Ms. Williams a couple of years ago. And one of the reasons why New Horizons is able to offer the type of program that they offer in Tibet is because we had that discussion years ago. When I said, are you CVQ or NVQ compliant? And at that point it was not just yet, but with this equipment we will be. It took a while to get there. I remember having chats with the Ministry of Sustainable Development when we were looking in terms of assessor training. We did one batch of assessor training and that would have been enough to qualify persons to evaluate at a particular level, and that wasn't enough. And we put in additional financing to get the assessor training up to another level. When we came, the Tibet Council needed strengthening of its own, and we made sure that the financing was there so that the council was strengthened. We realized that the curricula were out of date, and we spent the time and the finances to make sure that we had improved in terms of the quality of the curriculum. So these things are a process. So I am not in St. Kitts to speak of all of the realities that my colleagues may have spoken to, but I see the big picture from what has been happening in the Caribbean. And St. Kitts is not as far behind as people would like to make one think it is. When you look at the National Qualifications Framework, St. Kitts is only the second region in the Caribbean, or the second country in the Caribbean to have one. Barbados being the first, followed by St. Kitts, and Jamaica, which has been the bastion of development of Tibet, only got theirs after St. Kitts. That is the reality of the situation. And we needed to have the NQF in place to be able to develop everything else that has happened thereafter. The NQF cannot stand in isolation. That is why we're now working on the qualifications registry, so that when someone comes in from whichever other territory, we have somewhere from which we can check to make sure that, yes, this is a valid qualification, so that things like free movement of persons across the CSME region can actually become a reality. When we look in terms of what you're paying for, because it's all well and good to say, yes, people will get CVQs, but the public has to know that if I hire a plumber with CVQ1, I expect a particular level of work, as opposed to if I hire a plumber at CVQ 4 or 5, because that is the equivalent of a person with a master's, and if you get up into 5, you're looking at somebody with the equivalent of a PhD. This is information that we have to get out there to the rest of the public. Because the minute we say CVQ, you automatically think, okay, this is a substandard qualification, but no. That is why all of those pieces have to come into play. Because if, as a simple example, a youngster decides, okay, I'm in the TVEC stream because of, I didn't do well at primary school and they told me I'm not good in terms of academics. And they get up to a CPQ 2 level, they go to the community college and they decide, you know what, I really think I want to find my niche in academics. The qualifications framework allows that crossover so that that person can become an engineer if they choose to, or they may become a professional in that particular regard. So one of the other areas that we have is in terms of the National Occupational Qualification System, so that you know exactly what qualifications you're looking for each type of job that is being offered. So even in terms of if you have a clerical assistant, you know what qualifications you're looking for. And that then maps back to your qualifications to your register, etc. So yes, it takes a little bit of time to get all of these pieces together, but now I think we have the broad enabling environment, and then that will be opportunity for us to be able to build on that. So it has taken a while, but from where I sit in terms of what is happening in the region, St. Kitts is definitely not as far behind, but we're actually, and that's when I say we, I mean, we petitions, right? We are definitely, punching where we need to at this point in time. And with the commitment and the sales job, because I think that is what is really necessary now, how you sell it. You now have to turn around and sell TVEC as not something you do when you can't do something else. It is something that you do because it is what you want to do. Because look at how many people who have their master's degrees and then you say, so what do you want to do later in life? Oh, I really like cosmetology. And that is what I really want to do when I retire. Or I like farming. So when I finish as a PS, I want to go and run my little farm. That is the TVEC that is there, and we want people to know that is a viable career opportunity for you. So I'll come off my soapbox now and pass back down.
Thank you, Dr. Boyce. And I think we have one more. Take one more. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Boyce. I wanted to respond directly to, or just add a follow-up question to your comments. In terms of the recognition of the qualifications for the various levels of the national registry, how far afield is it recognized? If I have an associate's degree in architecture from England, is there an equivalent that you have in the national registry? Or if I have a level 2 or level 3 and I want to further my education in England, would it be recognized, or Canada, or anywhere else in the world?
The simple answer to that is, we're getting there. And that is why I spoke in the speech in terms of the population of the registry. Because for every time an accreditation takes place through your council, that information ideally has to be lodged in the registry as well. For every person that decides that they want to open a training, to use the example in terms of cosmetology, that needs to be put into the registry as well. And then from the registry, people will be able to cross-check to see that this is a valid qualification. And the sales job to the public has to be, is this entity registered? So if you have a course that is being offered, is this registered? And that determines whether or not the person will pursue the course. Because when you spend your money to advance your qualification, to advance yourself personally or professionally, there has to be some level of currency. And to give that as a practical example, in Barbados, where we have a similar program, where we do have the NQF, in my own office in the delegation, we run some of these same videos like Alison has produced. We have a set for Barbados. and was running in the background of our security guard, our security officer. And then she came to me and said, Stephen, you know, I'm thinking about pursuing this course in front office management. It is being offered at X institution. Is it registered? And that's the kind of, and question number 2, what type of CVQ does it offer? Question 3, what can I do once I have it? And there are people who have been, and the next level that we'll get to is in terms of prior learning and assessment, where there are people who have been carpenters for 10, 15 years, and they have never gone in place to learn how to do it. We need to be able to pull them into ABEC or CFBT and do an assessment of what it is that they know. And you say, you know what, based on your knowledge set, you are really CVQ 2 or 3. So that then sends the signal to the market, this is how much your work is really worth. And if you as an individual then want to pursue studies further afield or in another country, then because that is linked back to the qualifications framework and to the register, then you have that mobility. That is what we're really looking at. And how it then links back to our work in the EU is that, you know, we have this thing called the Economic Partnership Agreement. Some of you may have heard about it or you haven't. And that provides opportunities similar to CSME in terms of skill movement of labor within the Caribbean. It provides opportunity for persons to work in Europe. That is where having this national qualification framework helps. Because it is not just saying these are the strata in St. Kitts and Nevis, but it is articulated with the international frameworks, including the European qualifications framework. So instantly, there's mobility, there's currency for any qualification. Right? Yeah.
That's why, because of the memorandum of
Precisely. So it's not just at this level. We're thinking about you as a global worker, working within the global community.
Okay, thank you, and we can participate in some refreshments at the back.